A career derailed by sexual harassment. Meet one of many Kenyan journalists reporting rising incidents of harassment in the newsroom.
Stemming brain drain in Nigeria's medical sector, doctors discuss ways to curtail the trend of their colleagues seeking better career opportunities overseas. Hello, and thanks for tuning into the show that goes around the continent to bring you stories near and far. I'm Joke Rogers at Channels Television here in Lagos, and I'm joined by Vincent McCory from Voice of America in Washington.
Well, thanks. I'm Vincent McCory of the Voice of America. Happy to be with you again for another edition of Africa 54. Let's start off with the latest from Nigeria. Channels Television in Lagos brings you that story.
Medical doctors in Nigeria are brainstorming on ways to curtail the recent brain drain in the sector. President of the NMA, Professor Innocent Uja, says over 9,000 doctors have left the shores of the country in search of greener pastures in the United Kingdom, the United States, and Canada in the last 24 months, and that it's only appropriate to have this conversation at this time.
The Nigerian Medical Association is holding its median annual lecture with the theme Brain Drain and Medical Tourism, the twin evils in Nigeria's health system. The president of the Nigerian Medical Association, NMA, Professor Innocent Uja, is leading the conversation by lamenting the poor state of the sector in the country.
The national discourse on brain drain and medical tourism is therefore inevitable at this time, and it's only right, just, and appropriate for Nigerian Medical Association to take the lead, being the leader of the health team. Another issue that poses a great challenge to our health system is the problem of medical tourism. Nigerians are said to spend about $1 billion annually on medical tourism, according to PricewaterhouseCoopers report of 2016.
The executive and the legislative arms were represented at the event, and they have their ideas of how the issue can be resolved.
The health system of a country cannot be what it is without fixing the political system. That is the situation, and that is the truth. But we're not here to start pointing accusing fingers. What we are here to is to find solutions. Pragmatic solutions that will make us get to where we want to be.
And as today we are able to achieve stability through our intervention in terms of trying to remove the labor dispute, which we believe will you cannot give health without stability in human resources for health. So to this we have tried as much as possible to address nearly major issues. The implementation of Residency Training Act has commenced. Payment has been done, arrears were paid. Not only that, we have also extensively done in trying to review legislative framework in the country.
Using this lecture series, the NMA is hoping to lead the efforts to reposition the sector by engaging all parties involved in the nation's health sector. Delia Moyani, Channels Television News.
Joining us to discuss this is the President, Association of Resident Doctors, Lagos University Teaching Hospital, Dr. Samuel Okerinde. Glad to have you today on Africa 54.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
So it's been established that the country now has a deficit of over 300,000 doctors to cater for the medical needs of the citizens, and it seems more are ready to go. How do we begin to bridge this gap?
Okay, thank you very much. Like you rightly said, there is a gap. If you look at the expected doctor-to-patient ratio of 1:6, you will know that indeed Nigeria has a lot of gap. We're looking about the deficit of, like the NMA president rightly said, over 300,000 doctors. And yet, a lot of people are still going. To bridge this gap, I think the first thing is for the leadership, the government, basically, to know that or to come to realization that there is indeed a crisis in the health sector. So until they begin to create more health facilities and also put the health sector right, then we may not be able to actually bridge the gap or stem down the tide that we currently have in the health sector.
And so in some cases, recruiters actually come into the country to get medical staff from here. The offers look really good because welfare issues doctors are dealing with come to the fore almost, all the time. What other ways do you think we can address this, between the NMA and, of course, the government too?
For the part of NMA, they've been doing what they're supposed to do, and what is that? Basically advocating, raising awareness of the crisis, like we say, national emergency. They have been doing that. They've been interfacing with government, sometimes like now at on strike last year, raising the issues that are being faced, poor remuneration, hazard allowance not being paid. So on the part of NMA, I think NMA really has been doing that and other stakeholders. But the major part of this has to be the government, okay? The government really need to sit back and look at all the things that have been raised, all the issues that have been, brought to the front burner. They are not new. This issue has been there for ages, as long as you can think about it. But it's left for the government now, their part, to begin to look at the issues that have been raised, of course, by NMA and other stakeholders, and begin to create that enabling environment, or begin to put policies in place to address this issue. Like we know, of course, politics is about policies, and if there are no policies in place, even those that are in place, if they are not proper or the political will to implement them, then trust me, we may have more recruiters coming, because, of course, the Nigerian doctors are well sorted all over the world. We have one of the best brain, best human resource. So if the government did not play its part, then we're going to keep having more recruiters coming to pick those, those are available, basically.
Yeah, so we do know that, a large part of the health sector is taken care of by the government, but when we have recruiters come in, what part do you think the private sector in the country can play to actually, build more world-class hospitals, the type that, our doctors, feel attracted to and they actually leave the country for, and build them so we can retain, these are good doctors right here in Nigeria?
Okay, for private sector, basically, it still boils down to the government. So the government needs to support the private sector, needs to give them grants, needs to give them the enabling environment, basically, to function. If we have them doing that, then maybe more doctors and more health workers will stay, at least to practice their craft.
Right. So it's not only, about the brain drain, which is, our core issue that we're focusing on today, but also medical tourism. Apart from medical doctors going outside of the country to seek, other jobs, there's also Nigerians also going abroad to seek medical care. So all these issues that we're discussing, how can we also tackle the problem of medical tourism?
Okay, now when we talk about medical tourism, basically, it is just people going out to get care. To reach out to health workers who they feel can take care of their needs. Now, do we have those health workers here? Yes, we do. Do we have those trained specialists? Yes, we do. Like I earlier said, Nigerians are one of the best, the best trained, and that's why you see when you go to any part of the world, you see Nigerians there. If you go to India, you go to UK, you go to US, Nigeria probably dominates the health sector there. Okay, so it's still about the government looking at what is making them grow. Facilities, equipment. If you have those things in place, if you have those world-class hospitals, we have the human resource. Human resource is not a problem. The brain is not a problem. The issue is the facilities and the enabling environment. So if the government can put policies that ensures that people really now have facilities, I'm sure a lot of Nigeria will not go to those places and they would probably stay back. I think that is what the government needs to do, put in more facilities, encourage the players, encourage the stakeholders. All of the issues that have been talked about, the issue of remuneration, the issue of motivation, if those things are fixed and you have facility, I'm sure nobody would want to leave Nigeria or even to go abroad for either to train, to practice, or even for medical care, because we have it here. Definitely.
Thank Dr. Samuel Okerinde, President, Association of Resident Doctors, Louth Chapter. We'd like to thank you for your time today on Africa 54.
Welcome back to Africa 54. I'm Vincent McCory in Washington. Now, Zimbabwe's government has announced a $377 million project to deal with the housing shortage by constructing affordable homes before next year's election. But critics note such promises often come ahead of elections and that there are Zimbabweans who have been on a housing waiting list for more than a decade. Columbus Mavunga reports from Harare.
Unemployed Sylvester Mutemashinga is one of the many Zimbabweans who have no decent place to live in. For 9 years now, he has lived in this structure made mainly of plastic.
My wish is to get money and build a house so that I can stay comfortably with my family. I live with my wife, child, and nephew. But because of the difficulty of life, jobs are hard to come by. The small jobs we get do not pay enough. You end up getting money just for subsistence.
Across the road, posh houses are being built and some are on sale to the upper class in Zimbabwe. Kudzai Chatiza, a professor in rural and urban planning at the University of Zimbabwe, says the poor find it difficult to build or even secure property because of the high cost of living. He says, for example, Zimbabwe has the most expensive cement in the region.
So it's already an economy that is unable to build houses at scale because of some of the costs of the basic ingredients that you require to put up a house.
The government says it is aware of the housing problem. Monica Mchangwa, Zimbabwe's Minister of Information, says the government has started constructing houses nationwide at more than 50 sites which should be ready for occupation by next year. She says the construction is part of efforts to clear the waiting list for homes, which has grown to more than 1.5 million.
The total cost required for construction of flats up to the 2023 amounts to US dollars $377 million.
In the past, similar pronouncements have been made with elections around the corner. Whatever the outcome, Mutemashinga hopes to get into a decent home soon. Columbus Mavunga for VOA News, Harare, Zimbabwe.
A skateboarding park has been established in Ghana, the country's first and one of the 10 in Africa, completed late last year with support from late Louis Vuitton designer Virgil Abloh. The Freedom Skate Park is free to the public and can be accessed 7 days a week. But on Thursdays, its gates are exclusively open to women and girls who have created a tight-knit community, both on and off the ramp.
A year ago, Harmony Bakata quit a banking job to pursue a love of skateboarding. Her family objected. Skateboarding is not a popular sport in West Africa and is often regarded as a male sport. It was also coordinated by local extreme sports collective Surf Ghana. Through them, Bakata, who previously didn't know any female skateboarders, discovered the Skate Girl Club.
Back then, I felt like I only knew me as the only girl who was skating, so it was kind of a bit, But after I saw other girls, I was like, oh, okay, so it's good now. I can practice with them and all that. So it encouraged me to continue. And when we would have meetings, it was just more than skateboarding, we would talk about other things, mental health, cooking, gardening and all those things. And I really felt comfortable. And that's what Skate Girl Club is all about.
Don't be scared. It's okay. No, I'm here. Don't worry. Calm down. Today, Bakata teaches a passion to other women and girls, including Lila. Despite having only skated for a few months, the 4-year-old has already conquered one of the park's biggest ramps. Her mother, Miriam, says it's important for girls to see each other doing sports lightly associated with boys.
It's also good to just have a place for the girls to, to have examples of each other, to take examples from each other, because I guess as a girl, you see everything. You see boys doing everything. You know, boys are good skaters, boys are footballers, boys. And she even told me last time, like, oh, as a girl, can I do this? Or as a girl, can I do that? I was like, yes, Mama, you can do anything. Like, literally, that's one thing I keep telling her every day. You can do anything.
Just 17% of the world's weekly skateboarders were women in 2018, according to data from Grandview Research. Back at the hopes women-only sessions at the skate park will encourage Ghanaian women to give it a go. And that you should never give up.
It's time for a short break. As we do, remind you to visit our website, channelstv.com, for news and other programming around the clock. You can also find us at youtube.com/channelsweb. Still to come, racing down gender stereotypes in motorsports. The Lioness Rally, Kenya's first ever all-women car racing competition, features an impressive lineup of female drivers.
Welcome back to Africa 54. I'm Vincent McCory in Washington. Kenyan journalists report the highest level of harassment in the newsroom, a global media study finds. For VOA, Victoria Amunga has more from Nairobi.
Gathoni Kuria's negative experience with a supervisor at a Kenyan media outlet derailed her plans for a career in journalism.
I went to pitch an idea to him, and he was just looking at my hips intentionally, very intentionally. Like I'm speaking to him, but he's like just looking at my hips and then going up to my breast and not looking at my face.
Kuria worked at the same media house for 2 years, trying to launch her career in print and broadcast. But she says rejecting sexual advances from a supervisor changed that trajectory. Her harasser wasn't interested in her professional growth.
He did not really care whether I published or not. He did not even sweat or struggle to even tell me go do a certain story unless I came up with an idea. And that idea would be merged up sometimes with someone else's story. So you see, I became almost like just a trophy seated at the desk.
Kuria's former supervisor told VOA her claims are ridiculous and suggested she report them to the police. Kuria's case isn't isolated. Around 65% of female journalists surveyed in Kenya say they face physical or verbal harassment. The figure puts Kenya top of a list of 20 countries included in a study by the World Association of Newspapers and News Publishers, or one IFRA's Women in News organization and City University of London. The study also shows in about 80% of cases, women do not report the incidents. One way to curb the problem is to highlight it, say local advocates.
Create that open environment and safe spaces for people to talk about sexual harassment. Then the person who wants to hide in the secrecy of it to harass their victims will, of course, they will feel exposed.
It can be hard to secure justice too. Harassers risk being fired, but they still find work elsewhere. So the Association of Women Media in Kenya is creating a special committee to help bring suspected attackers to court.
There are cases where we've had even an intern raped at a gunpoint in Kisumu. But if you look at even how that case was handled, the media house sat, listened to the case, found the guy guilty and fired him. But after he was fired, went to another media house. So the cycle continues. There's no redress. There's no punishment. There's no justice for the victim.
Kuria for now has abandoned her aspirations to be a journalist, but media advocates hope the Women in News study will shine a light on sexual harassment in the newsrooms and offer support for reporters like Kuria. Victoria Amunga for VOA News, Nairobi.
Kenya has held its first ever all-women car racing competition featuring a lineup of female drivers aimed at challenging stereotypes in motorsports. Dubbed the Lioness Rally, the race attracted 8 teams, all female, who drove over the humps to the delight of spectators.
Kenya's Maxine Wahome emerged victorious as the winner of the first ever all-women's rally competition held in the East African country. Dubbed the Lioness Rally, the race was held on Sunday and attracted 8 teams, all made of female race drivers. With veteran driver Safina Khan on navigation, 27-year-old Wahome finished the 12-kilometer race circuit in a Subaru Impreza beating runner-up Tash Tundo by 13 seconds.
If we have more rallies like this, we can get to having a WRC of only women, but it takes a while. So hopefully we can have a big Kenyan one. Let's see where we can go from there. But it's at least now you can see people are more interested. There's a lot of spectators, more than we've had even in the Kenya National. So with the ladies in the sport, I guess people are interested in ladies, so they want to see the action.
Sports is still predominantly male-dominated, but rally driver and clerk of the Lioness Rally, Joan Nesbitt, hopes this inaugural race will go a long way in challenging the stereotypes of women's participation in the sport.
And I'd like to see more women coming and joining. As they've seen now, it's not that hard. Everybody thought it was a big deal, but it's actually not that hard.
Rally fan Sinole talks about the importance of the competition.
I think an event like this is so important because I'm sure there are some women who are shy in joining and they're not sure whether they will be able to find a car or be able to just, be part of it. And seeing that they are first timers here and they were able to join and they did their best, which I think it just inspires women to come out of their shell.
Check and drive in rally direction slowly.
Given the strong turnout of spectators, organizers of the rally hope that the inaugural race will drum up interest and support for women to join motorsports.
The Intercultural Circus Festival of Abidjan is underway following a much reduced event last year because of the pandemic. Touted as West Africa's largest circus festival, the event brings together performers from around Africa and beyond. Henry Wilkins has this report from Abidjan.
West Africa is beginning to open up to the world again. As COVID-19 travel restrictions are lifted, cultural events like the Intercultural Circus Festival of Abidjan, or RICA, are returning. The festival was held last year, but it was much smaller because of the pandemic. RICA founder Chantal Dijeje says COVID-19 made organising the festival very difficult.
Last year, we wanted to keep the festival going, but there were very few companies from the Guinea-Burkina sub-region. And this year, the festival has become more colorful because we have 9 companies and 57 artists from many different countries.
57 artistes qui viennent de beaucoup de pays différents.
This year, RICA is hosting acts from Lebanon, France, Morocco, Guinea, as well as a troupe of acrobats known as Atufa from Burkina Faso. Atufa's artistic director says he faced obstacles becoming a circus performer.
It took courage to take this initiative because my parents hate me doing this sport. If I was not here, I would be in the village right now because they didn't want me to do this job. But thanks to God, today I have been able to develop my skills to this level.
Voilà, mais grâce à Dieu, aujourd'hui, je peux dire Dieu merci. J'ai eu à développer les choses aussi.
Atufa's performance reflects the ongoing war in Burkina Faso against armed terrorist groups, says Tanyan.
It is through our movements and the performance that we manage to express the war. It changes people's lives because there is a war in our country.
The festival, said to be the largest of its kind in West Africa, has helped promote African circus performers internationally, says RICA director Dijeje.
There are many from the continent who have gone on to Cirque du Soleil, and now they want to come back to the continent and create a circus that is much more of their identity, that is linked to African traditions.
The festival is taking place as West African nations, including Ivory Coast, are dropping mandatory COVID-19 testing for arriving travellers who are fully vaccinated. Henry Wilkins for VOA News, Abidjan, Ivory Coast.
Well, and that's our show for today. You can find all the continent's top news and world news online at voaafrica.com. Check it out. I'm Vincent McCory in Washington. Channels Television has your last word from Lagos.
We look forward to bringing you another show next week. To remember, channelstv.com is your source for news and other programming. I'm Joke Rogers. Thanks for watching and goodbye.